Guys, it's time to talk about what the mortgage is going on. Larry, you got to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hear you?
You hear? Yes?
Yeah. It doesn't sound like your
Perfect.
normal mic though, but I still hear you clear.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
It sounds like your like laptop or room mic, you know?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I jumped on as fast as I could and see if I have all my technology going. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but that's okay.
That's okay. As long as we can hear you.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the big thing. So, Larry, as usual, I have a question for you. What the mortgage, especially this week, is going on?
Yes, it's not the best news. Mortgage rates are back above 7%.
Why?
Well, there's a little bit, there's a few answers for that question, but let's just say we saw this coming, right? Let's just say that people were waiting for rates to go down, and we're like, rates are probably not going to go down more than what
What?
we get.
It's not like you and I have been talking about this every week consistently.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Especially last week when we talked about the fact that I said the debt ceiling stuff is an issue and that heavily affects sentiment and sentiment absolutely is a big factor when it comes to when people mess with futures, future inflations, future investments, future betting, future everything. So okay, Larry, so let's take a look at the numbers. Yikes.
So they were 6.82%, which we thought was high already.
Good morning, those tuning in.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, we thought 6.825%. I'm sorry, 6.82 was already high because Robert was predicting 6.75 ish, right? But no, 6.82 is actually looking pretty good compared to today at 7.12%.
You know what I did? When I predicted the 6.75, I forgot about the debt ceiling. I forgot about that. Had I had that, I probably would have put another 0.25 in there.
Mhm.
Which would have I still would have been slightly off, but I would have been a lot closer.
Well,
Because
you were consistent for a good couple of months, but rates are now higher than you predicted, so we all look bad now.
yeah,
We all
yeah.
look
Okay,
bad.
so 6.82, jump into 7.12 in just 1 week.
Hmm.
I mean, like,
Well,
okay,
it actually happened on Tuesday, so literally like less than there's if you count the weekend, like 4 or 5 days, but without the weekend, 2 or 3 business days is
see,
when it
that
happened.
coincides with I could be wrong, but I think that coincides pretty well with the debt ceiling conversations going on right now.
Yes, it
I
is.
think it coincides like almost identically because last week they said, "Don't worry, guys." Some really, by the way, never listen to any politician who says productive talks are happening
Hmm.
because that's just someone stalling and trying to save face. But like in the political world, everything's just talk until it's not. And so it's like it's not like when Larry and I can turn around and tell you, "Hey, we're talking about something productively," and you can trust us to be transparent about it, and also understand that whether we choose to do something, let's say version 2 of the show or not, it doesn't destroy your life.
No.
But when people have this huge burden on their shoulders, and the vast majority of them are more concerned about getting reelected. And I am going to say that I know that's bold, and there might be one or two, and I doubt more than that, that actually care about their job. And I know some people may disagree, Robert. That's so judgmental. Listen, I look for actions over words. I look for fruit over words. They'll say anything to save face,
Mhm.
right? Anybody watching season 5 of Yellowstone knows exactly what I'm talking about right now. All right, Larry. So it's not looking great. So should we just jump into mortgage-backed securities and then jump into the discussion, or do we talk a little bit now?
Let me talk about what
Oh,
I'm
your mic
reading.
just kicked in.
Yes, yes. I finally fixed it. Let me read an article that pretty much coincides with what you're saying, right? This was put out Tuesday, May 23rd, right? It literally is titled "Debt Ceiling Finally Having an Impact," right?
finally having an impact, right? It said after several weeks in the news cycle spotlight, the debt ceiling is finally starting to have a visible impact on the longer term bond market and stocks. The reaction function is playing out as expected, with impasse, as I guess that's how you say it, being good for bonds and bad for stocks. Vice versa for resolution. Today saw more evidence for impasse, resulting in a bond rally and stocks sell off in the afternoon. Debt drama aside, bonds hinted at some supportive buying early in the day, both before and after stronger S&P services PMI data, right? So they're saying that, like you said, you've been talking about it, whatever. They're saying that the rates are starting to, I guess, react a little bit to it. It's starting to become a factor in the conversation. So
And
yeah,
I wish I had access to the data that only secret people, the big dogs have. I mean, some of this data, guys, that I want access to only exists when you are at the highest tier level of political status, or your multi-billionaire status, where you pay to get into those rooms. Because here's what I'm trying to figure out. This always happens around the debt ceiling. I said this last week. This always happens. There's always two sides pretending they're both heroes, and the other side is the reason why nobody can get anything done. Which you'd think after how long has the U.S. had? I think it started with the Federalists and what were the two parties initially? But basically, Democrats and Republicans. They did not exist, to be clear. They did not exist with George Washington. The moment George Washington left office, for those who want to know, George Washington was our first president of the United States. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. I understand that curriculum in schools is not the same anymore.
right.
So I'm not even judging someone if they don't know that. Okay?
Yeah, my son asked me, "Am I older than George Washington, or was I born before George Washington?" I'm like, dude, the math is kind of off there.
I met someone the other day who had no idea who Hitler was and what he had done, right?
Oh my gosh, wow.
So anyway, my point is that the moment he left office, they formed two parties. And in his farewell address, he said, don't form two parties, because all it's going to do is increase the corruption in politics. It's going to increase the way that money is used for political gain. So maybe we should have just listened to him, but we didn't. And now here we are. But this always happens. So what I'm trying to figure out is there data I don't know that makes them wary of stuff, or are they just being emotional? Right? Because if this always happens, why would you be worried? Why wouldn't market sentiment just stay the same? Is it, I just don't know enough about that side of things. Because I hear the debt ceiling talks and I'm like, all right, drama queens, come back to me when you stop playing your games and actually then come to an agreement. Because we talked about this, nobody's going to let it default on their watch. These people, this is their whole life. They need to stay in power because it is their purpose. It is their leverage. It is everything is tied up into their political gain. Mm-hmm. There's just no way nobody would, the majority, I should say, because that's what we really need, right? It's not a unanimous decision, but it is majority. There's no way the majority of them would risk their livelihood, their everything, right, to play this game. I don't know. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but.
Well, if you look at, let's look at the MBS real quick.
Okay.
It's dropped dramatically, right? Like over $1. And we've talked about this. I talked about this in the past. The closer to $100, the better. And I don't know if there's a correlation, but for some reason, when I see 100, the rates are always in the positive. When I see below 100, rates are in the negative, right? Or whether it's going direction. So I mean, it's literally an inverse direction. The prices go down, then the rates go up every single time.
Right.
Okay. And the MBS is what we, as loan officers, what we watch, right? And I'm going to read another quick article that talks about this. Okay. The debt ceiling debate volatility is causing issues for bonds, which of course relates to the
Of
mortgage-backed
course.
securities.
Yep.
Okay. They're saying treasuries sold off in a linear fashion today much more aggressively than the MBS. The debt ceiling debate is the most logical scapegoat considering the direct implications for the US government's borrowing capacity. It's not that the bond market doesn't already know that the debate will be resolved before the default, but it does provide a series of tradable headlines, allowing traders to capitalize on the volatility inside the broader range.
Oh.
The trade of the day has been to push yields higher in anticipation of the deal. We also shouldn't rule out the massive rallies seen in short-term bills. These were initially sold en masse, with traders parking the money farther out the curve. With an end in sight, it's not unreasonable to expect those trades to be unwound.
Okay, that kind of answers my question, and honestly, that makes a lot of sense. We're just talking about people doing whatever they can for their own selfish desires, and I will say selfish in this place because this is not trading against other traders. This is directly affecting the lives of the middle class. Middle class is typically where the homes are bought, right? We've talked about this. If you have really bad credit, you probably generally don't have a lot of money, which means you're probably not buying homes. So interest rates aren't as big of a deal to you. But as you grow in your finances and increase your credit scores, interest rates become an increasingly crucial factor, essential part of your life, whether you like it or not. How you buy cars, how you get loans for houses, businesses. I mean, each one of those things has their own parameters. So I don't care what you do on Wall Street for the most part, right? We're not talking about retirement funds, but I don't care too much what you do against other traders. But when you come in and you intentionally mess with bonds and mortgage-backed securities and things that directly impact the lives of middle class, I don't know, man. Like, what would be interesting? Tell me and I want you to tell me if I'm crazy for what I'm about to say, Larry. And I'm a very generally small government type of guy. I think most people know that about me. But it would be very interesting to see if the government taxed or put restrictions around trading when MBS was in a certain threshold, or interest rates were within a certain threshold, to help throttle back manipulation of the market.
I've
They
thought
did
about
it for AMC, by the way.
Yeah, I've thought about things like that, but I mean, when you introduce another variable, you're opening up a whole new can of worms, right? We already talked
Right.
about
We could
when the
make it worse.
yeah, when the government gets involved in any kind of financial markets or whatever, it just creates I think a rift. That's why like I talked about the bake bailouts messing up the capitalistic society, right? And how things are supposed to work. It's supposed to be a natural almost like survival of the fittest situation, but the government got involved, and I guess you can make an argument that that's part of the survival of the fittest thing, right? The government is part of the game, right? I guess, right? But it's not pure. So I mean, I think adding again a little bit of
I know.
I
It
get-
also goes against my values.
yeah, let's call it the hand of God, right? Having the hand of God come in, an act of God come in and change things.
Yeah, and even in the Bible, man, you generally don't want God to come in and solve it for you, because
Right.
when he has to step in, it's like dad coming home and taking off the belt and saying, "You had all day to work together and figure this out. Now I've got to come in with absolute authority, and you're not going to like it. Sure, I might fix it, but there will be pain involved."
Yeah,
And
and not everyone's going to agree with it, right? Number one, and number two, I mean, God is of course perfect, right? Whereas the government is not.
yeah, so now you have to add corruption
Yes,
and just additional manipulation.
yes. I think it's just, you're opening the hole bigger if you do that. So that's what I say. So as you can see, the rates have gone up everywhere across the board. It looks like FHA is 0.3%, so 3%. Same thing with the VA loan. Jumbo went up 0.25%.
6.75 FHA isn't horrible though.
Yeah, it's not horrible, but remember these are like an aggregate average rate, so you're really looking at sevens for most lenders.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah, but I'll be honest with you, man. We've been in the sevens for a while with what we've been quoting. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So it's just the fact that the sevens on this is looking like an 8 to us. Yeah, that's what we don't want for sure. So yeah, let's look at the highlights real quick. Of course, we've already talked about this. The highest rate in 6 months. 6 months is a big deal, guys, because we're looking at we're trying to get past the year, right?
Mhm.
And if the
Half
last
the year, man.
yeah, and this is half the year. This is the highest in 6 months. So does that mean there's a potential for it to go higher and higher and higher and basically become the highest for the year, right? Because we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear the race has been the highest for the year because from our perspective, the race have been ugly for the past year, right? But it's getting there. We talked about the sideways movement. It's going sideways the wrong direction. Is what we don't want.
So, what's your prediction?
Well, there's so much data coming out, all the time. Like the PCE inflation data is coming out today, right? That can change the volatility of it a little bit. That can make it, so things improve.
Based off of the information you have right now, what do you think we're going to see in the next month or two? Just your opinion. Emphasize opinion.
If the rates were ever to go down, right? If they were ever going to go down, they would go down now, but they would go down back to the high sixes. You see them? So, and that's the reason why I wanted to be on this call for sure, because now you guys who waited for the race to go down, you probably wish you locked in a month ago. You know what I'm saying?
Preach it, sister.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, like, if rates are going to go down, they're going to go down back to what we didn't like already. So my prediction, rates will probably stay up a little bit in the sevens a little bit, and it'll creep back down to the sixes, and that should increase home sales because we got slapped, and we're like, you know what? I don't want to get slapped anymore.
It's a lot more motivating just psychologically to drop from 7.1 to 6.9 than it is to drop from 6.9 to 6.7 or 6.6. Like it's silly, but that is how our
it's psychology. It's
psychology works. Sales.
Just like we're at 5.99 1 point. They're like, we're in the fives. Well, no, you're really at the sixes.
You're not in the fives, and most of you aren't going to see that 5 at all.
Yeah.
So here's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to come out and in the nick of time, or because I believe, and anybody who's a political major and knows, you feel free to correct me. It's been a while since I brushed up on this. I believe they can file or vote to extend the default deadline. I believe there's a couple times that they can do that. They can't do it indefinitely. And I could be wrong, because I want people to correct me if I am wrong. But so here's one or two things I think happens as far as the default goes. They extend the deadline another week and just play stupid games. Or they come to an agreement at the very last second, right? At the very last second. And then we see things look good, and it comes down to 6.85 is what I'm guessing. 6.85, 6.89. That's kind of the range. If we want to give myself a little more grace, then I'll say between 6.7 and 6.9 is where we're gonna. That's my estimation, and I'm estimating that in the next 2 to 3 weeks. If it's 2 to 3 weeks from the negotiations ending for the raising the debt ceiling.
So this is why I like being on the show, Robert, because you like to talk about the why, right? But I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you this because I want to speak for that part of the audience. There's an audience that doesn't care why; they just want to know what, right? Like, what are the rates going to be, right? They don't care why the rates are that way; they just want to know where. So, from my perspective, no matter what happens, I think the rates will go up high enough to the point where the 6.85 that you're talking about will be good enough to move forward, right? And it's psychology, just like when rates were down in the 3s or 2s. People would refuse to buy at a 4% interest rate. Now people will murder they will murder for a 4% interest rate right now. So it's all psychology.
Dude, I got
right?
HELOCs in the 8s. People complaining over here like at 7s. I got HELOCs that are 8.25 right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're still historical lows right now, oddly enough. But yeah, I think that we need a rate hike like this to kind of get people back to reality. It's like stop waiting
I
for
was
the
just
rate.
going to say back to reality.
Yeah, stop waiting for the rates to drop down to the 4s and 5s. Buy when you can. Right now we're at a point where it's going to be 6.5, 6.75,
Yeah.
7, 6.5. I mean, that's where we're at right now. Just like Robert said, 6.75 is a really good sweet spot. If you get at 6.75 or lower, you're probably in a good spot right now.
Honestly, I think you'll be in the top tier as far as like getting in on right timing, because I think we're going to play a lot. At least for the next few months. I think we're going to play between 6.8 and 7.1, 7.2. I think we're going to play around up and down in those, but I think there's going to be spikes and then drops. And I think the drops are going to hit us down in 6.7 range. And I think if you get in that 6.7 range, you're going to be good. But to be honest, if you get anything under 7 right now, you're going to be golden, because look at the numbers and look at what Larry just said. We've been in the 7s.
Yep.
So like for people, agents especially, like this is why you need to know what's happening to the best of your ability, why it's happening, because your clients are not intentionally, but they're delusional. They believe a lie. They believe a lie that is not based on any facts. It's not based on data. It's just this conjured up hopium of and that's actually very detrimental to them. That's preventing them from making good decisions. And the problem is that I see agents fostering the same thing. I hear agents posting about rates coming down. I hear agents talking about this and saying now's a bad time to buy. Well, first of all, unless you're the one buying, that's not your decision.
Yep.
There's no such thing as a bad time to buy in a general rule. There's only a bad time to buy in an individual rule. And that's only the case. And agents should be fostering that all the time. There are good deals happening right now. There are people increasing their wealth, their equity, their income right now. Present those opportunities to your clients. Don't rob them. Now more than ever, they need to make sure that they've got a plan, because having their money sit in the bank ain't doing them any good. It's depreciating faster than it's appreciating. Well, Larry, do you got to run?
No. I did what I need to do. So,
oh, okay.
My kids party doesn't happen for like another hour or whatever, so we're good.
We'll almost be done. No.
Yeah. I want to say one last thing though, sort of a period on everything that's being said. If you can look at the 4th takeaway, it says the true trajectory of rates will depend on additional economic data, with more important reports not coming out until the first 2 weeks of June, right? A lot of the announcements that are coming in, the Fed, right? So the best prediction, like what Robert's saying, is look forward to the rates that we have now for the next 2 weeks or more. So,
and I think they'll go up, because we have seen in the trends that when the reports aren't out, they're almost never optimistic. Those who are manipulating the market are almost never optimistic. They are absolutely pessimistic. They drive the rates up. That's why they're at 7s, because they're pessimistic. Whether they're pessimistic or just playing the game, either way, it's a negative effect for you. So you need to assume that for the next 2 weeks, they're going to stay high or go higher until additional reports come out. And let me paint this picture too. Let's say tomorrow they come to an agreement on the debt ceiling. Okay, you might see a little tiny decline for a quick second, but they're going to wait for these next 2 weeks of reports to make their decision on their outlook. So just don't be fooled, I guess, is what we're trying to say, is don't be fooled by this. High rates, if you can get a good rate now, great, get it. And that's kind of our thing that we've been saying for 6 months now, and I've been saying for like a year and a half, 2 years. All right, we'll move on. I think we beat a dead horse.
Yes, one last lesson, right? The lesson is don't wait for the rates to go down.
Don't wait. Please don't
Don't wait.
wait.
Just get yourself ready. If you can afford it, if you find a good deal, jump on it,
Yep.
right? Because people always tell me, oh, I'm gonna wait till the rates go down, and I always say, what do you think happened to the last guy who said that? Right?
He's
So
still
just
renting.
yeah. So don't make a decision based on the rates. Make a decision based on everything else, and if it's affordable, pull the trigger. Let's go.
Interest rates are up week over week by 0.3 points, which may not sound like a lot, but it's a lot. Trust me.
Yes.
Trust us. Mortgage-backed securities are down by 1.06. That's 2 weeks in a row we've seen a huge drop.
It went from like 98.30 to like 97.20 or something like that.
Yeah. It's
a whole
crazy.
$1. Yeah.
That's crazy. It really is. We have not seen the last 2 weeks. We've seen things that we have not seen for the last 6-7 months.
Yep.
So it's pretty crazy, right?
And it's not really this way. It's summertime. It's school's getting out. People supposed to buy. Rates are supposed to go down. It's not what is happening right now. What people expected is not happening.
And I do believe, like you read from that report, but also if you just watch the politicians a bit as well, I do believe that some of this is orchestrated and intentional. They absolutely know when people are coming out to buy, and it's a very good time to make people hurt. And I hate to say that, but that is the truth. And then when you make people suffer, those people go to their or to their elected officials and say, I'm suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's sweating in Congress and saying, well, I need to get reelected. And the other guy goes, I know you need to get reelected. And this guy goes, yeah, but I don't need to be reelected for another 2 years. So I can sweat it out longer.
Mm-hmm.
But can you? You need to be reelected in the very near future. Mm-hmm. And they play these stupid games instead of just doing their job. And that is the truth. All right, moving on. I'll get on a high horse there. Looking at some more discussion topics with everybody watching. Good morning. Bad advice realtors give. Drop a comment. I want to hear what you say. Larry, I'm excited to hear what you say. You have been in so many conversations. So let's play a little game, guys. Leave a comment. Bad advice realtors give, whether that's to other agents, whether that's to their clients. Leave a comment. And hey, listen, if you want to be humble and you can say, listen, here's bad advice I gave one time. I'm sure you learned from it. You got better. I've given bad advice. I honestly can't remember it off the top of my head, but I know I've given bad advice and I know I've learned through it and I've grown through it. So Larry, I want you to start this one off though. Give me some bad advice that you have heard real estate agents give.
I'm going to give one that I've given before.
You can also give some loan officer stuff too.
I'm going to give you one that I've given before. Bad advice I've given, lock the rate and then the rates go down. But hey, I couldn't predict it. But I have given bad advice in that sense. And I think loan officers do that on a daily basis, right? Not that they're trying to.
I don't know if that's fair. That feels like weak. I want a juicier one.
No. But I'm just saying it happens all the time with us, right? So just be prepared. I'm setting expectations. Be prepared for your loan officer to give you bad information or bad opinions on the rates because we can't predict it. That's the truth, okay? And I always tell people I can't predict if I don't have a crystal ball. So it depends on what you want to do, right? But yes, I have told people to lock. Yeah, I told people to lock, and it was a bad idea. Okay, so bad ideas I've heard agents. I'm going to be a little, what do you call it? Biased, right?
Okay.
I think it's really bad advice when real estate agents don't refer one lender as their partner. I think it's really bad advice when they go, well, here's 3 lenders you can talk to or whatever. These are the 3 that I think, the whole 3 business card thing. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's bad advice. Number one, It shows that you don't have a go-to person. You don't have a team synergy. You're just randomly giving three vendors out, right? So that's bad advice number one. You're making yourself look like you're not a professional. Because professionals, top producing real estate agents should have top producing loan officers they're working with. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when you tell your clients to go look for or decide between the 3 lenders, what are they going to do? They're going to Google the lenders, and that's where Zillow's going to come in. That's where freaking Rocket's going to come in, and they're going to literally advertise these crappy low rates
Mhm.
or whatever, and the people are going to opt
Absolutely.
in, and they're going to end up signing
That's
up with
how
a
people end
Rocket.
up with Rocket Mortgage, man.
Yeah, and then the Rocket's going to try to steal that client from you because they actually have a program where they say next time you sell your house, you get a 1% discount. So that person is no longer loyal to you because they're discounting, right? They're discounting the lender. Now they're going to discount. So I mean, if you gave 3 lenders and they didn't use those lenders, obviously they don't trust you enough to go with the lenders, and now they're going to end up selling their house the next time they do a real estate transaction with the Rocket because the Rocket's like pouring honey into the ear every single week about it. So yeah, I think that's really bad advice to basically just shoot your clients out and say, good luck, here's 3 lenders, talk to whichever one you like the best. No, I think you need to have one lender, refer that lender, and make sure that pipeline is locked in, and tell that lender, hey, you need to call this person right now because I referred you, you're my partner, yada yada yada. That's as a biased loan officer, I think that's the worst advice you can give as a real estate agent.
So we're going to answer a question in the comments in just a second. I will get to you, but I want to bring up a couple points. So one is the reason why, if anybody heard this, agents didn't come up with this. It's a age-old broker thing that they believe will protect them in court, which is, well, I gave them 3 because now it shows I'm not biased. Well, let me be clear. You can be biased with 3 just as much as you can be biased with 1. The whole point was that they didn't want to force or steer someone. Well, what if all 3 of those lenders work for the exact same lender? By the way, most of the big dogs will have lenders under them. You could send them to 3 lenders who all work and offer the same programs and the same rates and have the same deal. Okay, as they do in what am I trying to say? As the others do.
But that's what I do. I have myself, I have my wife who's licensed, and I have my branch manager. All 3 of us. You recommend all 3 of us, and it's the same company, so it makes sense.
Right. So
I do see
a
that
very flawed system because the other thing too is it doesn't make sense anywhere else in the world. It is a BS thing that they put on agents. Let me tell you this, Larry. When you went and called urgent care, to see if you could come in for an appointment, did they turn around and give you the number to 3 other urgent cares and said, awesome, we would love to see you, but you need to go talk to these 3 other doctors first, 3 other urgent cares first? When you call Geico, does Geico go, hey, you need to go talk to Allstate and you need to go talk to Progressive first?
Yep.
So why is it when you go look for an ad on Rocket Mortgage where they spend millions of dollars to stay in front of you, okay? And in other words, they don't get your permission. You think they do, but it's a psychological game. It's ads, it's retargeting. They're subliminally brainwashing you into going with them. Did they also recommend that you go check out other mortgage companies as well? Did they do that?
No.
Because when someone asks me for advice, I should give them the best advice that I have. It's my job to know who I think is best for the job. It doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not talking about just shopping around rates. That's a different conversation. That's a whole different thing, right? What Larry, if I'm understanding correctly, is saying is recommending 3 people. First of all, I agree with him when he said that it opens up a can of worms because they will Google. That's what I would do. Literally, I had an electrician come out and he said, I don't know who can do whole home surge protectors. It's not me. So since he didn't know, my professional didn't have a recommendation, I had to go and Google it. Now, here's the thing. Google can be manipulated. Google reviews can have pros and cons to them. I think you're putting a client at greater risk, and I think you're taking liability and pressure off the agents to do a good job, because now you're saying, well, you just picked wrong. Well, how are they supposed to know how to pick right? I'm sorry, were they in high school and they went through a mortgage 101 class on how to pick the right mortgage lender? They're not equipped. That's why they ask a real estate agent who is supposed to be equipped.
Yep. You only Google when you have no other option. That's my perspective, right? Number 1. Number 2, it's okay to have what do you call it? price comparisons, and a good lender should recommend that. I do. Okay.
And I know you
So,
do. I can vouch for that.
yeah. Yeah. So what I think you need to do is you need to choose one lender that you go to as your go-to person, and then let that person be your guide for your clients. But at least they have one person that they're locked in, instead of going to, like, again, the internet and you in the rock and everything like that, right? But the main thing about referring people and steering, who do you think is going to steer more? Google's going to steer even more than that, right?
Way more.
Yeah, you're steering based on your experience, your connection, your trust, your loyalty to one person.
And
or,
Google is steering by Pocketbook. They don't care if
Exactly.
Rocket Mortgage is good. Why don't you go look
Exactly.
up the Rocket Mortgage success rate? Why don't
Yep.
you go look up the complaints department? 9 times out of 10, they'll have 1,000 more than complaints than and any local broker will. Does that mean that local brokers are perfect? No. But there is a vested interest that they have that Rocket Mortgage will never have. And I hope I don't get sued for this defamation. Sorry.
Sorry.
All right, let's answer this question. I think we
Yeah.
kind of just answered, but Facebook user said, but some offer different programs. Isn't it good advice to tell them to shop around for the lender? So I think the easy answer there is that if you know what you're supposed to know what programs they offer. If one guy, so let's say Larry's my go-to guy, and you Facebook user are coming in, and you're looking for land, and I should know among my network who has the best land offers. If that's Larry, I'm going to say, Larry, I figured it was you, Leslie. So if it's Larry, I'm going to say, well, Larry typically has the best land deals. So I'm going to recommend that you talk to Larry. He'll kind of walk you through the land process. I haven't seen anybody who can quite beat him on the land deals. If it's not Larry, I'm going to, okay, normally I'd send you to Larry, but he does not specialize in land. He's told me before his products are okay for land, but they're not the best. So I'm going to go over here to Chuck over at this very land specialized lender that I know and say, you should go there. I'm using my expertise to give them expert advice to help them make the most informed decision. They, as a consumer, can say, no, I want to go with my credit union. Okay. I'm just giving you what advice I have to my understanding of the knowledge that I have available to me and your needs. So I don't think there's anything wrong with price comparison, like Larry said. I don't think that's wrong at all. There's nothing wrong with seeing something at Walmart and saying, oh, I wonder if this is cheaper at Costco. Nothing wrong with that. Not at all. And Larry even said he supports that. That's good. That's healthy. You know what? You want to compare what I offer to other agents? Absolutely. Go right ahead. You can compare me all day long. I stand by what I have, and what I have is what I have. And if I can make you a deal, I'll make you a deal. Sometimes I'll try and beat it, or sometimes I can't. And that's good business. But turning around and not guiding them, that's just sending someone down a dark alley and say, find your way through it.
Absolutely, 100%. That's why I think it's the worst advice you can give anybody. I really think it's bad advice.
It's I don't know where it came from either.
I looked it up. There's no rule. I actually have an article. I'll send it to you later. But there's an article where it literally says there's no rule that says out there. There's no law that says that you have to give.
And by the way, for everyone who's listening, real estate agents are told to do that for everything. Insurance agents, inspectors, every recommendation they tell you to give, that you need to give 3. And I don't see why real estate agents are the only people in the world who are supposed to follow that. And no other trusted professional is. Lawyers don't do this. Nope. Doctors don't do this. Nurses don't do this. Insurance agents, lenders don't even have to do this.
Nope.
So,
makes no sense.
So why?
Yes, Leslie, that's cool. I think that's Leslie.
Absolutely, Leslie. Definitely connect with Larry.
But yeah, I literally, I mean, if you guys, some of you guys are just, you guys are coach clients or whatever, your audience members, but I actually teach a class where I tell you how to get lenders to fight each other for the best rates. I actually tell you how to shop against me. I will give you the tools, and I recommend that with all my referral partners and all my clients, right?
Because I do the same thing. Yeah.
So if I can't beat the lender, at least I can tell you that's a great deal. No matter what you win, if we do price comparisons. So yeah, I think every lender should be doing that. So you should recommend a lending partner that's willing to do that for your clients.
I do that for agents. So guys, you know, I have agents that come into my downline, my team, whatever coaching program. And I always say, all right, here's how you find the best deal. And it's either going to be me you're going to like my answers to the questions I'm going to teach you to ask, or you're going to think someone answers them better and you go with them, and that's okay. There's a girl who was like, I really like what you're doing, but I really want someone local to where I am. And I said, okay, let me at least teach you what to ask them so you don't get screwed. And you know what ended up happening? She went and asked the questions and then came back to me and was like, they couldn't answer them. And they're basic stuff. Dude, we got so off topic, but it's okay. We'll jump into this one. From decline to incline, home prices are making a remarkable comeback. When's the last time you heard anything positive in the news, Larry?
It's been a while.
Here's the thing. If you guys follow my monthly meetings that I do where I talk about market data, you will see that almost every single month over month, homes are appreciating. Home sale prices are staying strong. We are seeing the numbers. The numbers have been looking good. So now we've got a couple articles that are coming in that are showing some stability. So if you look at this one on the left, I don't have a great way to blow it up. StreamYard doesn't really allow a lot of flexibility for this. But if you look at the chart on the left, so I'm sorry, on the right, my right. If you look on that chart where you see these little bit of numbers, I don't think you can even see my little mouse, but what we're seeing is that there was a heavy dip, okay, that happened, and then after that heavy dip happened, this is where we had the insane volatility. Now that we're starting to come into the new year, right? This is just to show you some of the historical data leading up to where we're talking about now. I've been saying this for a while now. Ever since November, December, roughly, we have seen a consistent trend of home appreciations going up month over month. We're seeing, yes, we're down year over year. I want to make that clear. We are absolutely down year over year. We're probably down year over 2 years, very likely. But we need to study the numbers, and the numbers are showing, even though we're down, so let's say we're down 46% in closed sales. Well, that was, let's say, December. In January, we were down 38%. In February, we're down 22%. So what that's showing us is that people are getting back into it, despite the interest rates, the volatility, the debt defaults, and things like that. This is why, as agents, we need to remove our feelings from the equation. Shut out media, shut out big media conglomerates who lie through the teeth, and they absolutely lie through the teeth, by the way. You should look at the lawsuits that are against them and the amount of fines they constantly have to pay for misinformation. It's always, why do you think they have such big legal departments? And now you need to just go look at the data for yourself. It's very easy to do this in your own MLS. And you will see month over month, not all markets, but a lot of markets that are not, I don't want to get political, but do not have certain policies. You're not going to see very good numbers in San Francisco. You're not going to see great numbers in LA, New York, or Chicago. That is not because of the people, though. It's indirectly the people. They voted those people in. It's heavily influenced by the political decisions being made, right? What do you think happens in Chicago when 4 or 6 Supercenter Walmarts decide to pack up and leave Chicago? What do you think that's going to help with home prices, loans, buyer sentiment? You think people are going to be like, yeah, Chicago's a great place to invest right now? Or you think they're going to be like, I need to get out of here? So you have to be careful in where you use your numbers. You need to be objective. Consider what's happening in your local market. But we're seeing a strong buyer sentiment. These are just a bunch of bullet points. You don't need to read them all. The main point that you just need to know is that, and I talk about this every month, and sometimes Larry's there with me, is that we are seeing a steady increase of buyer sentiment in all avenues across real estate. All avenues.
Yeah,
Only
I was about
area
to
that might
say.
be a little weak is commercial.
Yeah, I was about to say that when you said it was the last time I heard, good news. I forgot we did hear a lot of great news on your last monthly market update. It was actually really impressive how the numbers are changing. So yeah, I look.
Cool? Why does
Yeah,
nobody do that? By the way, why doesn't anybody, like, with all the money and power they have? Why can't?
I think it's because a lot of us are about the daily, right, or the weekly, whatever. Whereas you actually take a step back and look at the month, which is really what tracking should be, right? Because we're comparing things month to month, anyways, right? So I think it's great information. It's definitely
So I do month
uh,
over month and then year over year.
yeah,
So I do both.
yeah, and it's definitely motivating, right? Seeing like an upward trend, an upward trend in anything shows that number one, the market is resilient, right? Even in these crazy
Absolutely
ugly
resilient.
rates. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
the market is resilient, number one, and number two, I think people's behaviors are changing,
Yep.
and things like that. Let's put it this way: I think there's more likelihood of things going down than things going up. I think it takes more work, more effort, more energy, more consumer sort of changes in their mindset for an upward movement. So to see that is literally proof that progress is happening. So yeah, I look forward to
You
the
know, it's a
next
good
update.
analogy that I just thought of. When we talk about being down in the long term, we'll say year over year, or even the last 3 years, but then being up in the short term. Here's what it's like. Imagine you're you're in your 30s or 40s, and when you were 18, you're 150 pounds and you were lean and whatever. Then, you hit your late 20s, early 30s, and now you're 400 pounds.
Mhm.
And so then you lose weight, though. You say, nope, I'm gonna get fit. I'm gonna get my life together, and I'm gonna be healthy. So you start to lose weight, and maybe you come down and you're down at 280. Now, instead of saying, oh man, I'm not 150, you have to objectively go, I was at 400
Mhm.
and I've made progress towards getting back to where I want to be.
Yes.
So when we look at the numbers, we go, okay, they're not where we want them to be, but we're also not 400 pounds anymore. We are making steady progress
Mhm.
to be where we want to be. And by the way, guys, we'll never get there. I know people who are in a peak optimal fitness and they still feel like they're not where they want to be.
Yep.
It's the same with money. It's the same with everything else in life. None of us are ever actually satisfied as humans.
Yep.
Like we're just not. We always want more of something in some way. So,
Mhm.
so we have to look at numbers in that context and understand. You also have to understand that it's very difficult to shed the stupid COVID years, which don't count for crap and should have never happened and should never have been factored into any equations ever. But they did. The COVID years happened, and we saw 2 and 3% interest rates. We saw homes going for hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking price in some instances. We saw crap like that happen. So now that messed up every good thing that we've built. We built 15, 20 years worth of trends, and COVID shattered them in 2.
Yep.
And now everybody's hung up on those stupid things, and it's so annoying, right? It's like when someone makes one bad tweet after 30 years of not, right? They got a clean record for 30 years. They make one bad tweet. They maybe even didn't mean to do it. They just said the wrong word in the wrong context. And then all of a sudden they get their TV show canceled. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like 30 years, but you judge me by the one tweet, which is true. This is the society we live in. Well,
Mhm.
that's what happened. That's what happened with COVID. All of the data prior to that for about 50, 60 years showed us in the norms of 6, 7, and 8%, right? Then we saw 3%, and everybody said, that's the norm. That's the norm. That's the norm. And you're like, no, 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 no. That's an outlier. That's actually not supposed to be there. You're trying to brush it under the rug. You're like, please don't focus on that because that's not normal. That's not a good, reasonable expectation. And people said, nope, I saw it, and therefore I want it. And you're like, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. You weren't supposed to see that. Right? And I think that had we been smart, going back to the feds, and done a better job during COVID years, and maybe had
Mhm.
interest rates around 5% in COVID years, we'd be
Mhm.
sitting at a consistently low 6% right now.
Yeah, I agree that I believe that the whole COVID surprise, like, whoa, what's going on with the race, whatever, it was definitely not handled in any way, shape, or form. There was no like, should we do something about this? It's more like, let it
Car wreck,
ride. Yeah.
pulled up a pop-up chair, sat down, and said,
Yep. They
"Let's see what happens."
there was no intervening. There was no plans. There was no like, well, I guess rates are low. Let's just have fun, and it's gonna crash sometime, but we'll enjoy it while it lasts. That's basically, I mean, I think that's how most lenders felt, right? Most lenders probably made more money in like those 2 years than they did their entire career as a loan officer, and they didn't even think about like what's going to happen next, right? I mean, I knew,
Nobody
I
ever
saw
does.
this,
Look at the lottery people.
dude. No, but I knew this, man. I was like, bro, this is not good because two things are going to happen. Well, actually, three things are going to happen. I talked about this on Facebook groups. I guess I was the chicken little guy, right? I was like, okay, you know what's happening right now? No one's going to want to buy or sell a house for the next 10 years because they're buying at the incredibly low rates. Number one, right? Number two, a lot of people are entering the market unnaturally, therefore jacking up the prices. So by doing that, you're actually overpaying for houses. So no one's going to be able to refinance for the next 5 years. Just saying, guys, no one's going to be able to cash out or refinance the next 5 years because they're underwater. I'm just saying, right? I talked about that in these groups, right? And the third thing that I talked about was what's going to happen when the rates go up? No one's going to want to buy a house because they to them a 2%, 3% is the norm, right? I saw like a huge, like I wouldn't call it a crash, but like a huge slowdown in our business as loan officers and real estate agents, right? The moment the rates tick up to the 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s, I knew that was going to happen, and I was like, I better get involved in something new because we might be unemployed for a while.
Mr. Noise, what do you think? With home prices, you think the worst is behind us?
I think the worst is behind us. I think we're looking forward to let's call it normalcy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're looking forward to that slowly.
So for anybody listening, what you should do next, just pay attention, man. I don't know why I have to say it every week. But you know what? I need to hear it too. Study the numbers, know the truth, educate your clients on the data. As is. Try to leave your opinion out of it as much as possible. I know you're human. I'm human too. My opinion's always interjected. All right. We'll do one last question and then we'll call it a wrap after that. What has been the worst money you've spent on marketing? Oh man. I wanna hear it. So leave a comment. What is the worst money you ever spent on marketing? Woo! All right, I'll start. I got a couple.
Me too.
One time I'm kind of bitter about this still. You'll see in my tone of voice. I went to my broker and I said, if I had should I invest in branding and building a brand that attracts people to me, or should I buy 10,000 leads? A literal 10,000 leads. He knew I meant a literal 10,000 leads. And remember, it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, buy the leads. And I said, okay. I didn't know any better. I just had a great year and I just didn't know any better.
Uh-huh.
How well do you think I followed up and managed contacting 10,000 people as one person?
You're probably still working on it right now. You probably haven't finished yet.
Bro, it was a huge mistake. It was a huge mistake because had I invested in my brand a few years back, I would have warm leads calling me right now.
Yes.
But instead, I have a bunch of leads that I can't remember. I can't organize. I didn't have the systems and processes for it. Yep. So I tell agents it's not a lead problem. Like 250 million leads were sold last year. Trust me, it's not a lead problem. Yeah. So that was probably one of the worst investments I ever made. And then I won't call names because I don't want to get in trouble. But I bought a very expensive website where it basically curates local content, like local events and things like that. It costs $10,000. And I bought one. I bought into the hype of it. And then I realized that like it was a service that nobody wanted. And it was just so expensive. And I just feel like, and I'll take some ownership. Maybe I just didn't use it the right way. I'll take ownership. It might be me, but I still feel like because I didn't fully understand it and and the work it would take, that it was a mistake. So there's 2 for me, guys. You guys leave a comment. Larry, give me some. I know you've done tons of different things in marketing. You've got to have some stories.
I'm gonna tell you the one that I think would help the most people, right?
Okay.
Because I spent a lot of money on it, but I made a lot of mistakes. Okay, one mistake was making a website. That's number one. $5,000. I should never have done it. And I'll tell you the reason. 2 quick reasons why. Number one, my website that I build with whoever I hire is never going to be as good as what's already being built by other people. Like why would I try to build my own educational platform when there's an educational platform already being built that's constantly being curated, that's constantly being updated, that has a $1 million team backing it up? Why would I try to
And
compete?
optimizing it.
Yeah. Why would I compete against that? It's stupid, right? So yeah, I understand that I want to have my own CRM, my own whatever, but in reality, I don't have enough money to make it as good as like someone else would. You know, it's kind of like me trying to create my own Zillow. It makes no sense. Why I should just use Zillow, right? Just pay Zillow, right? And even though that's a bad example, but that's the way I look at it.
Well, no,
Number one,
that's a correct example. Like for
Well,
in context.
yeah. So the website thing was number one, but the number 2 thing that I think will help most people, because most people are not going to build a website like I did, right? But the number 2 thing is advertising for low down payment, no down payment, low credit score type of. I have ads that says, "Why buy when you can rent? You can buy as low as you can buy with 0% down, 580 credit scores. What you ask for, you get more of, and you get worse of. So if I'm looking for 580 with no credit, I'm gonna get 500s with negative. I'm sorry, 580 with no money. I'm going to get people with 500 credit scores with negative money. Right? You get more of what you ask for. So
I made that mistake too, actually. Yeah,
it's horrible when you ask for, like, when you talk about down payment assistance, when you talk about 580 credit scores, you're going to get like a lot of people that are not even close to that. Right? It's better to ask for 680, 700, and then get like a 580 or 600. You know what I'm saying? But when you ask for 580, you're gonna get the 500s. You're gonna spin your wheels. You're gonna waste a lot of time. I probably spent $1,000 on credit reports on people I just can't help. And I'm not saying that I'm against helping those people. I'm not saying that.
it's different context.
Well,
you're talking about like charity work versus paying your bills.
They can't buy. They can't buy. That's the whole point, right? I'm giving people hope when in reality they need a little bit more education, a little bit more research, and a little bit more time, right? And they're not ready to talk to me. That's basically the point, right? They're not ready to talk to me. So I need to find people that are ready to talk to me. So again, it's not that I don't want to help those people. It's just I don't have the bandwidth to like you said, charity work. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I have to help the people that are ready to buy now. So my marketing needs to be.
You got bills to pay, man.
Yeah. So my marketing cannot be down payment, low down payment, 580 credit scores. That's like the worst thing you can put out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I have actually made that mistake before too. And I will say the mistakes have always taught me great lessons. And I learned that who your target audience is important, but also I learned how, if I care about people and I want to help them, then go get a partner who likes that particular thing, right? Go find a credit specialist who's honest and genuinely likes helping people. Go find people who want to solve that problem. And then I can talk to someone. They not be my type of person, but know exactly where to lead them so that I'm still helping them on the right direction. But I'm not burdening my family. I'm not taking literal food off the table. I'm helping them to clean up their life while providing for my family and better serving my clients. Yeah, I agree, man. I've honestly, a lot of my stuff, the bad stuff, was just trying to take the easy way.
Yeah. And I think most people do that. I mean, that's why we do lead generation, right? We're trying to do the easy way. We're trying to scale. We're trying to speed things up. We're trying to automate
buying leads, right? Like,
yeah. You are trying to skip a bunch of steps, right? And there's nothing wrong with that if you can handle it. Number one, and number two, that's why I like Agent Mafia coaching, right? Which we're both a part of. They talk about lead generation being important, but it's not going to save your career. Right.
No.
It's a long game kind of a thing. Right. So you have to have something going on right now. Like, you can't join a coaching group and go, give me leads and all of a sudden become a success. Very few people are able to achieve that. Most people actually have to do
very
the work.
few.
Yeah.
Very few.
You gotta call people. You gotta talk to them. You can't let the robots do all the work.
You also have to get better. Like, I've heard people are like, oh yeah, I've been trying all these things for a year and no sales. And I'm like, what did your coach say? I don't have a coach. What did your broker say? I haven't talked to my broker. What did your team leader say? I'm not on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to teach you something. If the correct way to the front stroke is with your arms going forward, but you decide that you're just going to splash in the water, you can splash all you want, but you're never going to do the front stroke. You're never going to propel yourself forward.
Mhm.
So it's a very foolish idea to come into real estate and think that you know what you're doing. And by the way, guys, I made that mistake too. Full transparency. I thought with my background, and I had a very prestigious background, mind you, of business development for million and billion dollar companies, that I could come into real estate and just tear it down, bro. Like, just take it over.
Yep.
I was a fool. It's an entirely different game with different rules, different context. Just it's a whole different arena, right? It's like when a boxer jumps into UFC.
Mhm.
He may be the greatest boxer ever, but the moment you add legs into it and the ability to kick, they're going to get crushed 9 times out of 10. The moment you add grappling into it, it's a whole different thing. And it doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter how resilient you are. You're not prepared. And so I think one of the best investments agents could get is a coach.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about a $10,000 Tom Ferry coach. I like you, Tom Ferry. I'm not insulting you. I'm just talking about a coach who's going to teach you how to do 4 things. Okay. Generate leads. That means new contacts. Follow up with those leads, how to follow up with them appropriately. Okay. Role play, script, and objection handling, how to convert those leads, kind of work through the kinks in those conversations, right? And then how to run your business, how to do all the other little bits and pieces, tracking your finances, just the little pieces you need to do. Just find a coach who does that. And I promise you, as an agent, you will be extremely successful. But the vast majority of coaches that I've seen don't teach those things. They spend a whole bunch of time, which if you're already making a ton of money is fine. But if you're not making money, honestly, mindset is for me personally, I think is one of the worst things to talk about, because you can't think clearly if you can't pay your bills. That is a fact. That is a scientific, psychological fact. So we got to address first the problem. Just like my daughter, when she is starving and so hungry, does not want to listen to a lecture about something.
Right. Absolutely
Right?
not.
She's
Absolutely.
like, Dad, listen, I'm hungry.
Yep.
And she's a lot more amicable when I address her immediate needs.
Mhm.
Right? And I'm not giving parenting advice, by the way, because, some people will disagree and agree. What I'm saying is that you got to meet people where they're at. And where you're at is, if you need to make money, then you need to find a coach who helps you make money now.
Yep.
Right? That's why we revamped Agent Mafia. That whole new process coming out is to literally show people how to generate leads every single week, not 6 months or 8 months later, that week, how to convert those leads with script, role play, objection handling, and then how to follow up with those leads each week so that they can turn into clients and those clients turn into sales. Simple as that. Great point to end on. Larry, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you, brother.
Wait, I want you to highlight that one last comment. Do you see it?
What?
The comments in the Facebook.
Oh,
user.
yeah.
Yeah, it says people say they're waiting to go back down to 2%. I'm thinking we'll have fun paying off other people's mortgages. And I think it's true. I think, I'll give you a really quick example on the Wayne Be Gone. I had a client who was asking me, can you tell me the value of my house now? I want to know if I overpaid, because he bought last year, right? I did the math, and the house did drop in value, so he did overpay. But I was like, yeah, but if you waited a year, because the interest rates are higher as well. If you waited a year plus the interest rates, you actually would have paid more, because you would have paid this much times 12 to someone else's equity. So this is the equity that you actually added to your mortgage, and that actually made sense to him. He's like, okay, so I guess I did overpay, but at the same time, I'm in a better financial situation because I did put 12 months of equity towards my house versus to someone else's. So what that Facebook user said is very true. Waiting for something that's not going to happen is just paying someone else's mortgage and not towards your own equity.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you for another week. I hope you still found encouragement. I hope you did, because the truth will set you free. Let me just say that. That's a great way to end this. The truth will set you free. Interest rates are 7%. Okay, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to come up with a plan, or are you just going to quit real estate? And you're going to tell people to stop buying homes? Is that your solution to bring the economy to a halt? Or are you going to find a solution? Find the truth. What can we do with this? How do we figure this out? Then you're going to go to your lender. Hey, what do you think we should do about this? Hey, insurance partner, what can we do about this?
Mhm.
And you go and you get your team together and you come up with a plan. You figure out the solutions. You go to your broker, your coach. What are you doing about this? You go to your team leader. What are we doing about this? You come up with these plans. Then you go to clients and you go, here's what you do about this. And you teach them and you guide them. And then the perception changes forever. Let's go crush it.
Facebook user says, have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for the value you bring every single week. No, thank you for being there every week if you are. We love doing this, even if no one is watching. So appreciate that someone is watching. So thank you very much to you, Facebook user. Or I think it's Leslie. So yeah, thanks.
Appreciate you. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. So again, that was Scale Through the Fail. We go live every Friday, 9 a.m. Central. Thanks for tuning in. Listen, we just try to bring the truth serum to you as much as we can and give you a bit of news and tell you what's noise and also what to do next so that you can stay ahead, stay on top of it, and not suffer like so many are. So I hope you guys found value. Leave a comment with suggestions, feedback, things you want us to talk about, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week again, live 9 a.m. Central.